Imagine waking up 6 months from now and barely recognizing your own life, because it has changed so profoundly. 6 months might sound like a short span of time, but within it lies the power to reshape your reality, your relationships, and your sense of self. Change does not require decades. It requires focus, clarity, and consistent action. The truth is, most people overestimate what they can achieve in a day and underestimate what they can achieve in half a year. The next 6 months can be your turning point, if you choose it to be. Today, I want to share with you 6 powerful principles that, when practiced with commitment, can transform your life completely in just 6 months. These principles are not abstract theories. They are proven truths drawn from human experience, psychology, and personal growth. Let's dive in. The first and most difficult step in any true transformation is to take radical responsibility for your life. It is a step that feels heavy at first, because it requires you to confront the uncomfortable truth. No one is coming to save you, and no external force will shape your destiny for you. Yet, paradoxically, it is also the most liberating step you will ever take, because the moment you accept complete responsibility for where you are, you reclaim the power to determine where you will go. We live in a world where it is far easier to point outward than inward. How tempting it is to blame circumstances, the economy, our childhood, or the people who have hurt us. And yet, the more we cling to these stories, the more we surrender our strength to them. Every time you say, "I can't because of them," you place your life in their hands. Think about that, your existence, your potential, handed over like a gift to forces that have no real interest in seeing you thrive. This is why so many remain stuck in quiet despair, because it is easier to cling to a story than to face the weight of freedom. Responsibility does not mean you control the storms of life. You cannot command the weather, nor can you dictate the actions of others. But you can decide what those storms will make of you. You can choose whether to be broken by them or forged into something greater. This single truth, if you truly grasp it, gives you unimaginable power. It turns you from a passive victim of fate into an active participant in your own becoming. There is a story of a man who endured the unimaginable, stripped of everything, his family, his home, his freedom. He found himself in the darkest of places, a concentration camp where hope itself seemed to have died. And yet, even there, he discovered a profound truth, that while his body could be chained, his inner world remained his own. His captors could dictate his external conditions, but not the meaning he gave to them. That realization saved him, because meaning is the breath of the soul. Where there is meaning, life persists, even in suffering. Now ask yourself if someone, in such inhuman conditions, could rise above despair by taking ownership of his attitude. What excuse remains for you and me? What burden are we carrying that is truly beyond our reach? The truth is, most of what holds us down is not circumstance but interpretation. It is the story we keep telling ourselves about why we cannot change. The story becomes a prison, and yet the key has always been in our hands. Look closely at your own life. What patterns keep repeating? What situations make you feel powerless? And now ask the deeper question, in what ways have I been avoiding responsibility here? It is easy to say, I am like this because my parents were like that. It is easy to say, I am stuck because the world is unfair. Perhaps both are true, but they are not the whole truth. The whole truth is this: the moment you stop blaming, you begin creating. Taking responsibility is an act of courage, because it forces you to meet yourself without excuses. It asks you to look into the mirror and see not only your strength, but also the ways you have abandoned it. And yet, It is also an act of love, because when you claim responsibility, you return to yourself the one thing you were always seeking in others: power over your own destiny. Start small. Identify one area of your life where you have been pointing outward, where the story begins with, "If only they," or "If only life," and rewrite it as, "If I." Then take the smallest possible step toward reclaiming it. Perhaps it is your health, your work, your relationships. Wherever it is, choose to stop waiting for change and become the change. 6 months from now, you will look back and realize that this single decision, to take ownership, was the seed from which everything else grew. Because the truth is simple and eternal: you cannot change the world until you change yourself, and you cannot change yourself until you take responsibility for who you are and who you are becoming. Your life is not defined by what you dream of doing or by what you occasionally attempt in a burst of enthusiasm. It is shaped by what you repeatedly do, by the patterns you weave into your days. Every sunrise invites a choice: to repeat yesterday or to take a step toward the person you long to become. And the truth is, transformation is never sudden. It does not descend upon us like lightning from the sky. It is a quiet accumulation built on the steady rhythm of habits, those simple, ordinary actions that seem almost too small to matter, yet over time shape the architecture of your destiny. When we speak of change, we often imagine grand gestures: quitting everything, starting anew, rewriting our entire existence in one sweeping motion. But life does not work that way. Lasting transformation is subtle, almost imperceptible at first, because it grows from consistency, not from intensity. A seed does not become a tree overnight, and yet the tree is contained within the seed from the very beginning. In the same way, the person you dream of becoming is already contained in the choices you make each day. So let us begin with 3 powerful rituals, small in effort, but immense in consequence. The first is the ritual of the mind. How often do we wake and allow the world to pour into us before we have chosen who we are going to be? We reach for the phone, and before we have drawn a single breath of intention, the chaos of the external world has already set the tone for our day. But imagine, instead, spending just 10 minutes each morning in silence, visualizing the life you desire, affirming the truth that you are moving toward it. This is not empty fantasy. It is the conscious act of planting seeds in the soil of the unconscious. And the unconscious, once stirred, will begin to align your actions with the vision you hold. For the mind, like a compass, points where it is directed. Without this ritual, your day belongs to chance. With it, your day begins to belong to you. The second ritual is for the body. We live in a time where the body is often treated as a machine, something to be driven hard, neglected, or repaired only when it breaks down. But the body is not a machine. It is a living vessel, and its state shapes your thoughts, your emotions, even your capacity for hope. Movement is not simply about strength or appearance. It is about harmony. When you move, you do not only strengthen muscles, you release stagnation from the mind. 20 minutes a day. That is all it takes to awaken energy, to remind the body that it is alive, that life flows through it. Do not underestimate the power of this ritual. A still body breeds a still mind, and a still mind breeds despair. Motion, on the other hand, whispers possibility. And then there is the third ritual, the nourishment of the mind. Too often, we feed our bodies daily but starve our intellects and spirits. We scroll endlessly, consuming fragments of distraction, while the deeper part of us hungers for meaning. But imagine what would happen if, for just 15 minutes a day, you fed your mind with something that elevated it. Reading a book that expands your vision, listening to a voice that calls forth your courage, exploring ideas that challenge your limitations. 15 minutes. It seems so little, yet what seems little compounds. Over 6 months, those minutes become hours, and those hours can shape the trajectory of your entire life. There is a law of growth that few recognize: compounding. 1% better each day does not seem like much, until days become weeks, and weeks become months. Then you look back and realize that you are no longer the same person who began the journey. Studies have shown that this principle holds true not only in mathematics but in human behavior. An improvement of 1% a day makes you 37 times better in a year. Think of that, 37 times stronger, wiser, more capable than the self you are now. But beyond numbers, feel the truth of this. 6 months of daily devotion to small rituals will make you unrecognizable to yourself. You will not notice the change at first. No one does. It will come quietly, like dawn creeping over the horizon. And one day, you will wake up and realize that you are living the life you once only imagined. There is an undeniable truth that we often resist. No matter how strong your will, you are shaped by the world you inhabit. Your environment whispers to you every day, not always in words, but in subtle signals, shaping your habits, your choices, your moods. You may think you act freely, but most of your life flows along the path carved by what surrounds you. And if that path leads downward, you will find yourself falling without even realizing it. Imagine a seed planted in dry, barren soil. It contains all the potential of a towering tree, yet it will never grow, no matter how much it desires to. Not because the seed is weak, but because its environment cannot sustain life. You are no different. Your dreams, your ambitions, your highest vision, they are seeds, but they will not flourish if planted in the wrong soil. You cannot grow in an environment that drains you, suffocates you, or fills your roots with poison. Look around you with honesty. Who stands beside you? Are they lifting you higher, or pulling you back into the shadows you are trying to escape? Every person in your circle either feeds your strength or feeds your weakness. And this is not about judgment. It is about clarity. If you are constantly surrounded by those who speak of limitations, who mock ambition, who live only for comfort, how long do you think you can resist becoming like them? The human spirit is malleable, shaped by what it absorbs. Even silence can mold you, for in the absence of encouragement, doubt begins to grow. Then look at the spaces you inhabit. Walk into your room, your home, your workspace. Does it reflect clarity or chaos? A cluttered environment is never just about objects. It is a mirror of the mind. Disorder outside often signals disorder within. Every pile of forgotten things, every neglected corner carries energy, and that energy weighs on you more than you realize. Clean your space, not for appearance, but for alignment, because when your surroundings are ordered, your thoughts begin to follow. The outer and inner worlds are not separate. They are threads of the same tapestry. Now consider the invisible environment, the one most of us live in more than the physical, the digital space. What voices are speaking to you through the screen? Every scroll, every post, every word you consume is shaping you. If your feed is filled with noise, negativity, and distraction, do not wonder why your mind feels restless and unfocused. Your attention is sacred. It builds the world you live in. Guard it as you would guard your life, for in truth, it is your life. So what must you do? You must become the architect of your environment, just as a gardener shapes the soil before planting. Remove what poisons you. Distance yourself from those who belittle your growth. Not with anger, but with quiet resolve. Seek out those who live in the light of what you aspire to become. Surround yourself with excellence, Because excellence is contagious. Fill your spaces with symbols of growth, books that stir your mind, affirmations that call you forward, reminders of why you began this journey. Let every corner speak of possibility. Think of those who achieve greatness, not merely by talent, but by intention. The athlete does not rise to the pinnacle of performance by willpower alone. He builds an ecosystem of success. He trains in an environment where everything calls him to his highest standard. Coaches who demand his best, teammates who sharpen his edge, surroundings that make failure uncomfortable and growth inevitable. Why? Because even the strongest mind bends to its environment. You must do the same. Your environment is not neutral. It is a force, either for you or against you. And the question is, will you allow it to shape you unconsciously, or will you shape it with purpose? Because until you do, your highest self will remain only a dream, trapped in a world that does not nurture it. But when you decide to upgrade your environment, to build one that reflects your vision, you will find that change becomes not only possible, but inevitable. True transformation is not only the art of adding what is new, it is also the profound act of releasing what no longer serves your becoming. Many strive to move forward while dragging the weight of a past that clings to their ankles like iron chains. They run toward the future, yet wonder why they remain exhausted, why every step feels heavy. The answer is simple: you cannot walk freely when you are bound to old wounds. There are those who believe that progress is only about accumulation, new habits, new skills, new goals. But what good is a garden if beneath the fresh flowers lie roots poisoned by decay? You may water and nurture the surface, yet the unseen will always claim its due. The same is true for the soul. If resentment festers, if guilt whispers in the silence, if fear coils in the shadows of your mind, no amount of external achievement will set you free. The roots must be healed, or the branches will never bloom. So pause and look inward, not with judgment, but with the gentle honesty of one who seeks truth. What pain are you still carrying? Whose voice echoes in your mind, telling you that you are not enough? What belief has taken root so deeply that it feels like part of your very being? Whispering in moments of weakness, "You can't." These questions are not easy, and that is why most avoid them. But the cost of avoidance is greater than the discomfort of facing them. For what is buried alive within you never dies. It shapes your life in silence, directing choices, feeding patterns, attracting the very things you wish to escape. Healing does not begin by running from the past. It begins by turning toward it, meeting it with courage, and saying, "I see you, but you do not own me anymore." Some wounds were not your fault. Some were inflicted by others, perhaps in moments when you were too young or too vulnerable to defend yourself. But now the responsibility to heal is yours. No one else can enter the depths of your soul and set you free. There are many paths to healing, but all begin with expression. What is unspoken remains unhealed. This is why writing can become a sacred act, not of creating beauty for the world, but of uncovering truth for yourself. When you take the time to pour your fears, your anger, your sorrow onto the page, something shifts. What once felt like a storm within becomes words outside of you, seen, named, and therefore less powerful. Journaling is not magic, but it is liberation through clarity. And sometimes words on a page are not enough. Sometimes the heart needs the presence of another, a trusted soul, a compassionate listener, or a skilled guide who can walk with you into the shadows and remind you that you are not alone. There is no shame in seeking help. To ask for support is not weakness, it is wisdom, for healing is a journey best traveled with light by your side. Understand this: The work of healing is not an instant revelation. It is a process, layer by layer, like peeling away the bark of an old tree until the living core is revealed. But with every layer released, you become lighter. 6 months of such inner work, done with sincerity, can change everything. You may not see the shift day by day, but one morning you will rise and realize that the weight you once carried is gone. The anger no longer burns. The fear no longer rules. The voice that said, "You can't," has grown silent, and in its place a new voice speaks, "You are free." Remember this, life will not truly move forward until you do. You cannot build the future on foundations cracked by old pain, so do the work. Not because the past deserves it, but because you do. You deserve to live unchained, to walk into the next season unburdened. Heal the roots, and the branches will bear fruit beyond anything you have yet imagined. There comes a moment in every life when thought alone is no longer enough. You can reflect, you can dream, you can plan, but none of it will move the needle until you step into action. Transformation is not born in the mind alone, it is forged in the fire of doing. Every dream, no matter how noble, carries a price, and that price is movement. You cannot think your way into a new life. You must act your way there. But this truth frightens many, because action feels uncertain. It exposes you to risk, to failure, to the possibility of discomfort. So we wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, the perfect alignment of circumstances, and in that waiting, entire lives wither away. Here is the secret: there is no perfect time, and there never will be. Life does not reward perfection, it rewards courage. And courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to move despite fear. Action does not have to be grand or flawless. It simply has to begin. A small step taken today carries more weight than 1,000 intentions whispered to yourself in the dark. If you want financial freedom, start saving, not next month, not when the debts are cleared, but now. Even if it is only a few dollars a day, it signals to life that you are serious, that you are ready to hold more. If you long for a new career, do not wait until every condition is ideal. Enroll in that course, send that application, speak to someone in the field. If you desire health, do not wait until you can run 10 miles. Start with a 10-minute walk. The mountain is climbed not in leaps but in steps. Why does this matter so deeply? Because momentum is a force more powerful than motivation. The first step awakens energy that thought alone cannot summon. Once you move, even slightly, your mind begins to shift. You start to believe because you have proof, however small, that change is possible. This is how confidence is born, not from waiting until you feel ready, but from moving while you are still uncertain. Action creates clarity, and clarity creates strength. There is research that supports this truth. Studies from Stanford reveal that those who take small, incremental actions daily are 42% more likely to achieve their long-term goals than those who wait for the so-called right moment. Why? Because consistency compounds. A single drop of water seems nothing, but over time it carves valleys and shapes mountains. Your efforts may look insignificant in isolation, but when strung together day after day, they become a force nothing can resist. And yet, action must not only be bold, it must be aligned. To act without alignment is to run without direction. Many are busy, always moving, yet going nowhere because their actions are scattered and disconnected from what they truly value. Before you move, pause and ask, does this step bring me closer to the life I desire, or does it lead me in circles? The right action does not always feel dramatic. Often it is simple, humble, almost invisible to the world. But when it is aligned, it carries power. Imagine an archer drawing a bow. If he fires without aiming, the arrow may travel far but hit nothing of meaning. Alignment is the aim, boldness is the release. You need both. And once the arrow flies, do not stop to question where it will land. Let it go and prepare the next shot. Progress is not a single act. It is the accumulation of 1,000 small releases over time. The path to transformation is not paved with hesitation. It opens to those who dare to move, not recklessly, but with intention. You may stumble, you may fall, but each time you rise, you become stronger than before. And there will come a day when you look back at the moment you took that first small step and realize it was the turning point. The bridge between the life you had and the life you were destined to live. There comes a moment in life when you realize that the chase for external validation, for possessions, for recognition, leaves you feeling hollow. No matter how far you run toward these things, they remain just beyond reach because the real journey was never out there. It was always inward. True transformation is not about acquiring more, but about evolving into someone you deeply admire. Imagine waking up 6 months from now, looking in the mirror and feeling a quiet sense of pride, not because of what you have, but because of who you are. That is the most profound victory a human being can experience. But becoming this person is not an accident. It requires clarity and a deliberate commitment. Begin by asking yourself, who is the person I want to be? What qualities would make me proud to inhabit my own life? Discipline, courage, kindness, resilience. Write them down. Let them be more than words. Let them be the pillars upon which you build your future self. This is not about perfection. It is about alignment, living each day as if these qualities already define you. This is not easy. There will be moments when the old patterns call you back, when fear whispers that change is too hard, too slow, too unrealistic. But in those moments, remember that every act of alignment rewires the very core of your being. When you choose courage instead of comfort, you are sculpting the architecture of your soul. When you choose kindness over resentment, you are planting seeds that will bloom long after the storm has passed. Every night, ask yourself one question. Did I live today as the person I want to become? Not perfectly, not without error, but with intention. If the answer is yes, even in the smallest way, you are on the right path. If the answer is no, do not despair. This is not a test you fail. It is an invitation to rise again tomorrow with greater awareness. Transformation is not a single act but a rhythm, a steady beat of choices that shape your destiny. Here is the truth most people never realize. When you change who you are, everything else begins to shift without force. Relationships deepen because they are drawn to the authenticity you radiate. Opportunities appear because the world responds to the energy you embody. Success stops feeling like a chase because it becomes a natural extension of your character. Life stops happening to you and starts happening through you. Think of the person you admire most. Not a celebrity, not someone untouchable, but the highest version of yourself. That person is not a fantasy. They live within you as potential, waiting for your decision to bring them forth. That decision is not made once. It is made every morning when you rise and every night before you sleep. It is made in the silence of your thoughts and in the unseen moments when no one is watching. For it is in these hidden places that true greatness is born. There will be resistance. There will be days when the gap between who you are and who you wish to be feels insurmountable. Do not let that gap discourage you. It exists because you are reaching for something higher, something worth becoming. The discomfort you feel is not a sign of failure. It is evidence that you are alive, that you are growing, that you are stepping into the unknown where all transformation lives. Do not wait for the world to crown you worthy. Do not wait for perfect circumstances or applause. Begin now with what you have where you are. Each small act of integrity, each moment of discipline, each choice to rise above the old self brings you closer to that person you will one day meet. The one who will smile back at you in the mirror and say, quietly, "I am proud of you." 6 months is not a lifetime, but it is enough to change yours forever if you start today. Take responsibility, build rituals, upgrade your environment, heal your past, take bold action, and become the person you admire. Remember this: transformation is not a miracle. It's a decision followed by relentless consistency. 6 months from now, you can live a life you once only dreamed about, but only if you start now.